Yes, ma'am.
Good
Okay.
afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? Please put your mics on.
Good afternoon, madam. Yes, madam.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, madam.
Very good. Vous êtes en classe standard 1 là. Okay, everybody's got their mics on, so it's nice. Good. Is everybody here? Oh, I see 8 people. Who is a class rep, please, for your group? Hemshika. Is Hemshika here? What's happening to this video, man? Why am I not being able to share it with all of you? Just a minute. Okay. There we go. I see some of your students are from my past groups, right? Okay, please, who is the class rep? Is she here?
No, ma'am. It's quite long. I've been a long time. She is not here since last year.
Oh, really? And who is replacing her? I need someone to pass on
In
messages
fact,
to. Or...
nobody. If anyone is willing to, so they can come forward.
Okay, is that Devina talking?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I need a phone number I can relate to with a class rep at least. If I have some messages to pass on. Can anyone please send me a phone number? Maybe Devina, maybe you could take up the role temporarily. Is it okay with you?
Uh, okay, ma'am.
Oh, at least for my class.
Okay, no worries.
Can I have your phone number, please? I'll just miss call you. You will get mine.
Okay, I can. Okay, 5703
Yes.
2071.
2072071. I'm miscalling you. You will get my number as well. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Did you get it?
Yeah, it's okay. It's good.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
You're
I
welcome.
just suggested your name because I saw you taking initiatives to answer. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are about 14 to 15 people in this class. You don't know? Okay, fine. I know it's the afternoon and it's a very heavy weather. And everybody wants a little break. Did you have lectures in the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you had your lunch already, I suppose. So now you have to concentrate a little bit on my class because it's the first class, okay? And before starting, my dear friends, I want to give you a little brief introduction about myself for those of you who don't know me. You all know my name. I work at the NEF, National Empowerment Foundation, and the Ministry of Social Integration for about 15 years now. my role is being currently in the Pamplemousse district as community project executive. Okay. And I have been lecturing for more than 14 years now. Okay. About 16 at Open University for a very long time and for different courses. And this course I've been teaching for the last 8 years also. It has undergone a gradual improvement, I should say, gradual evolution, because I keep on adding new things, and as and when I receive new insights or new notes, I keep on adding them. So that's why you might, if you have lecture notes from previous years, they might not be relevant, okay, because I have updated mine. So let me just give a small introduction about how these lectures are going to be conducted, okay? We have the first 2 sessions, which are going to be online, and then we will have a face-to-face one at KEPIP. I expect all of you to be present for the face-to-face because it's a chance to meet all of you. And how I have designed and structured this course so that it is easy to understand and grasp, it's that it's 4 different lectures. The course is called Assessment and Intervention with Groups, Communities, Organizations, and Institutions. Okay? So the title itself tells you that it is going to be 4 different distinct lectures. Today, I am going to talk about assessment and intervention with groups. Now, how I expect you to go about this course, to study for this course, excuse me for 1 minute, I'll just put the fan on, I'm feeling very hot. I'll be back. Yeah, sorry about that. So how I expect you to go about studying for this course, okay, is you come to my lectures, of course. You listen to what I have to tell you. I have lecture notes ready for you, which are here. I upload all the lecture notes as well as extra readings after each lecture. Okay? So you read my notes, you come to my class, I will explain the notes to you. You can read the notes, you can ask questions as and when you feel appropriate. And then after that, you read your extra readings, you extract whatever is very important and relevant to you for this part of the lecture. For example, if I give notes on assessment and intervention with groups, I will give you all the extra readings relevant to groups. So you're expected to read them, extract them, and add into your notes. Okay? Secondly, you have a revised manual which has already been uploaded. It has been updated, I think, about 2 years ago. It was last year, I think, yeah. It was updated. You can read the manual, but sometimes, and I emphasize the word sometimes, sometimes I don't quite agree with what the manual is explaining. It has a sort of a general approach to the subject. So that's why I give my own lecture notes and my own extra readings. So with my notes, readings, and the manual, you should have enough material to think about the subject and, of course, answer questions. Now, if I talk about assessment and intervention in groups, you are going to concentrate on groups. We will see what it means in a while. And you're going to answer all questions relevant to groups using the material that is provided to you. If I talk about communities, it's a different aspect. Same applies for organizations and institutions. There are 4 different distinct lectures. Okay? And of course, the last session will be about revision and all that. So we are very far away from that yet. Do you have any questions so far? Please feel free to ask anytime you wish.
No, it's okay.
For the time being, it's okay. Right, just as a brief introduction to all of you, I would like to know, I know you're all year 3 students. I think most of you are working people. I would just like to know where you work and what job you do so that I know what are the specific relevant examples that I can use for easier understanding. So if you don't mind, I'll just ask each of you here. I can see on the blackboard your names. Just tell me. For example, Ashna Fulchan, where do you work, my dear?
I work in community centers as community support officer.
Okay.
And it's
So-
within Ministry of Gender Equality.
Oh, I see. Which community center exactly are you posted in?
2 community centers actually. It's Plainbois and Carouenouve. It's in the south.
Okay, okay. Interesting. Thank you. What about Chris? Can he hear me? David? Can't hear me. Yes, David. Tell me.
Bonjour, I'm David Lem. I work as a social security officer at the Terre Rouge local office.
At the SSO in Terre Rouge?
Yes, at Le Hocher.
At Le Hocher?
Yeah.
How
Down
come?
the Pause.
Oh, that's very nice. But how come I never spoke to you? Because I always liaise with officers there. I work for Pamplemousse and I liaise with officers at Le Hocher. It's my area.
No, I was at Montaillon previously. Maybe
Ah, ok. Ok.
the transfer.
Montaillon, c'est toujours dans Pamplemousse, mon ami. Mais il y a une autre personne qui s'en occupe. Mais maintenant que tu as Le Hocher, c'est bien. On va parler peut-être un peu plus souvent.
Ok, pas de problème.
Merci. Devika?
Oui, bonjour madame. Et
Bonjour.
moi, je travaille à la sécurité sociale de Bonbou, as a higher
Oui.
social security officer. I'm there from since 1 year.
Ah, ok,
I've
vous
been
êtes à
posted there
Bambou.
since 1 year. Oui.
Ok, c'est bien. Devina?
Je travaille au ministère de la Santé comme ECG technician de côté cardiaque à
Et
Rosebel.
vous êtes affecté à Rosebel.
Oui.
Ok, d'accord, merci. Et Kema? Kema?
Bonjour, je suis Kema. Donc, moi, je travaille à ANFEN, Adolescent Non-Formal Education Network. Je travaille dans une des écoles, donc qui est une école culinaire avec des adolescents, comme admin.
Ok, dites-moi un petit coup, à partir de quel âge on prend des enfants à ANFEN?
Donc là, on a un nouveau batch qui doit commencer. On prend à partir de 16 ans. Il doit avoir déjà soit avoir 16 ans in the next month, peut-être je crois même avril, mais sinon 16 ans. Ouais. Parce que
Et vous prenez des enfants d'un peu partout? Vous prenez des enfants d'un peu partout? Ou bien des régions spécifiques?
Non, un peu partout. On donne l'avantage pour les enfants des écoles d'ANFEN d'abord, sous l'association d'ANFEN. Donc, on a environ 22 écoles. Donc, eux, s'ils ils veulent bouger pour au niveau de l'employabilité, s'ils veulent nous rejoindre. Mais sinon, là, on a le dernier batch, c'était 50-50.
D'accord.
Donc,
Ok,
ouais, mais dans toutes les régions de Maurice.
Ok, ok, c'est bon. Intéressant. Merci.
Ouais, merci.
Brina?
Oui, bonjour madame. Et moi, je travaille à la Citizen Advice Bureau, le Citizen Support Unit, le CSU.
Oui.
Et on prend plus
Quel
de
endroit?
complaintes, à 4 bornes, plus de complaintes que... Enfin, on aide, on essaye d'aider et de...
Le CSU, non, il n'y a pas que des complaintes. Le CSU est aussi là pour informer. Vous faites beaucoup, vous faites beaucoup de...
Mais c'est plus de complaintes que les autres.
Ouais. And then you channel all the complaints to the
Exactement.
respective institutions, right? Très intéressant. Virginie, je crois que je connais, c'est une collègue à la NEF. Merci.
Oui,
Euh,
oui, on se connaît.
On se connaît. Elle a été une collègue de longue date. Elle travaille aussi à la NEF. Shaheen.
Oui, bonjour, je suis Charine, je suis MSE dans la section de finance au ministère de la Sécurité sociale.
Okay. You are working as MSO in the finance section, right? At
Yes.
Social Security. May I ask what prompts you to study for social work? Why not finance or something like that? Just out of curiosity.
In fact, I've done some ministries, that's why. I was not
Vous avez
always
déjà travaillé dans le social avant?
Oui.
Ok. D'accord. C'est bien. Merci. Rina?
Good afternoon, madam. I work as MSO at the Ministry of Gender, CDU SUYAC.
Ok. À SUYAC, vous êtes à SUYAC?
Oui.
Ok. D'accord. Merci. Rohan? Rohan.
Yes, madam. My name is Rohan Kasi, and I work as a prison officer at the Eastern High Security Prison.
God prison?
Yes, ma'am.
Eastern High Security Prison, c'est où ça? Melrose?
Melrose, ouais.
Ah, d'accord, intéressant. Mon gagné, maintenant, élèves qui peuvent travailler dans la prison Boba, mais Melrose, pas encore. Je crois que vous êtes le premier. Après, ouais, raconte-nous comment ça passait là-bas.
Il est un peu pareil comme les autres prisons, sauf qu'il est un peu plus affilié, il est un peu plus les respecter les droits humains un peu plus comparé aux prisons Boba.
Ok, d'accord, vous connaissez. Quand nous sommes en high security prison, ça crée un petit peu de débalancement là, qui fait appeler ça high security. Parce que les autres pays, quand les high security, c'est vraiment ban gun case. Qui est dans l'extrême dans la vie. Anyway, après nous causer, il y a beaucoup de choses intéressantes pour raconter. Merci, Rohan. Shoba?
Good afternoon, madam. I'm a acting social security officer. I am presently working at the Rose-Île department in the Ministry of Social Security.
Ah, d'accord. Et dans un bureau SSO, alors?
Yes.
Très bien, merci. Vanshika? Vanshika n'est pas là? Allez, ça me fait rien. Vinesh? Yes. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Okay. Okay, I see. So we have 2 prison officers, many people from SSOs, CAB office, NGOs, and c'est tout, je crois. Basically, this is about it. So many people in social work here. Interesting. Thank you very much. Now I have a brief idea of what the class
Hello,
represents.
Madam Atika. I didn't hear my name. I'm Dylan, and I am employed by the National Social Inclusion Foundation. I work on the Fortified Learning Environment project as a community mentor. I am posted at the Berkeley Government School.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. I did call out your name, but I think you did hear it. In fact, your name I called out. Je croyais qu'il y avait un problème avec votre microphone. Dylan, très intéressant. C'est pas que vous êtes à la NCIF, mais posté à... où ça vous m'avez dit?
Berkeley Government School.
Est-ce qu'il y a... Qu'est-ce que vous faites exactement?
Je suis community mentor sur le projet Fortified Learning Environment. C'est un projet pour les enfants qui ont des difficultés d'apprentissage. Donc, c'est 50% académique, littératie, numératie et 50% socio-émotionnel. Donc, je fais le lien entre les parents et l'école.
D'accord. Et vous êtes affecté à l'école même?
Oui.
Je vois. Intéressant. Alors là, NCIF emploie des gens pour les placer dans les écoles pour faire le lien. Sous la
Oui,
section.
on a des tuteurs dans le projet qui font des cours de rattrapage comme c'est, mais un système de des activités, des jeux comme ça.
Bon, très intéressant. Juste une petite question avant que je commence. Est-ce qu'il y a des gens de la NCIF un peu partout dans les écoles ou mais c'est sur demande?
C'est un peu partout à travers l'île, c'est surtout dans les endroits où il y a les personnes qui sont enregistrées sur le Social Registry plutôt, et c'est aussi dans les collèges.
Allez, si je vous dis par exemple, il y a un élève qui a un problème dans une école, qu'est-ce qui se passe à ce moment-là?
Ah, d'accord. Dans ce cas, non, c'est pas qu'un salaire de monde, c'est NCIF qui choisit. Ils ont une liste des écoles comme ça.
Ah, d'accord, ok.
Normalement,
Très
pour le
intéressant.
primaire, ce sera 50 écoles, mais pour l'instant, c'est 20 écoles qui sont opérationnelles.
Ok, ok, très intéressant. Il faudra comprendre l'opération de l'NCIF encore, parce que on a des élèves chez nous qui sont enregistrés sur SRM, mais qui ont un peu de difficulté à s'adapter dans le cursus normal. C'est bon. Merci beaucoup. I didn't miss out on anybody.
Bon après-midi, madame. Je n'ai pas entendu mon nom. Alors, moi, c'est Lilette.
Oui, Lilette. Bon après-midi,
Je suis
dites-moi.
enseignante en primaire.
Primaire, ok. Et pourquoi vous faites un cours en social work, madame?
Alors, reconversion professionnelle, peut-être.
Pardon?
J'aurais aimé rentrer reconversion professionnelle.
Ah, d'accord. Intéressant. OK, c'est bien. Là,
Si
j'espère
je
que
peux
vous allez gagner
rajouter
beaucoup de temps.
Oui, si je peux rajouter ça, ce que Dylan a dit en tant qu'enseignante, jusqu'à maintenant, je n'ai pas vu aucun représentant de NCIF chez nous. Ce serait bien quand même.
OK. Peut-être la NCIF ferait un peu plus de, comment dire ça, information giving pour savoir comment ils opèrent, comment affecter les gens, qu'est-ce qui se passe si on a un ou deux cas, ou bien. Ce serait peut-être intéressant d'en parler à NCIF.
Normalement,
Oui,
c'est le 28 ou le 27 ou 28, le projet sera lancé officiellement. Donc, je pense à partir de là, il y aura des communiqués, etc.
D'accord. Ben, c'est intéressant parce que je ne connaissais pas ce service-là. Et on a bien besoin pour nos enfants à l'école, comme Lilette aussi vous dit. OK, thank you very much. Now that I know my group a little bit more in depth, interesting to know that I will work with some of you in the future, in the near future, surtout avec David. OK. Alors, let's get back to the lectures. I will start by explaining the notes, okay? What I expect you to do is listen carefully, note down anything you want to note down, and also note down the examples and whatever extra I tell you about. And then you can ask me questions after that. Right. Let me start by explaining assessment, okay? The word itself, assessment, what is it exactly? Qu'est-ce que je veux dire qu'est-ce qu'on veut dire quand on parle d'un assessment? Anyone can try to answer before I give you my views on it? What is an assessment, les amis?
Madam, it could be to know the matter deeply, to judge the matter, to give a conclusion.
Okay. You have spoken about 3 different aspects of assessment. Let us go more in depth of the word itself. Like you said, Devika, it's to know the matter in deeply. So how do we know any matter in deeply? We do an appraisal, okay? You're doing fairly at some point in your lives. Maybe in your personal life itself, you could have done an appraisal of yourself, okay? Est-ce qu'il m'a ça qui m'a peut faire bon, pas bon, m'a besoin corriger, m'a pas besoin corriger. Si vous avez des enfants, comment on fait un assessment avec l'enfant même? Right. It can also be a data collection, okay? Many of you work with people. Many of you work with, over the years, you have worked with different groups of people. So you have collected the data, you have assessed the people, you have been, vous faites un suivi. Alors, c'est ça un assessment, un suivi en français, a follow-up about what happens to this student or this person or that person. For those of you who work in CAB offices and SSOs, you have to assess a dossier when somebody comes to you for the first time. It is also a gathering of facts when you have an event, for example, okay? When you read the newspapers, you hear about all sorts of incidents that happen or a new project that is being implemented in Mauritius. Let's say, for example, the project of Métro Léger. It was something completely new for Mauritius. If I ask you, what is an assessment of the situation of using Metro as public transport? So you will know, you will tell me what is your own perception and your own experience out of it. That is also an assessment. It is a compilation of work that has already been done before. OK? Si vous avez, par exemple, Dylan, par exemple, il travaille dans une école, il a été affecté dans une école où on pense qu'il y a des problèmes avec des enfants. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on fait à ce moment-là? You have to know why is there a problem with the kid's study. So he has to make an assessment first of the kid's background, his grasping ability and everything. And then he has to start his work as from there. So the assessment is done from the gathering of facts and what exists already. Okay? It can also be an estimation. For example, if you're doing a new project, a new, anything, a new, let's talk about a new project you have to implement. You have the budget for it. For those of you who work in NGOs, you get funding. So what are you going to do with the funds? You have to present a project. I am going to start by allocating the amount of money, resources, finances, administration, and everything that goes on. And you have to explain how you're going to go about with the project. C'est ce qu'on appelle une estimation. That is also a form of assessment. Okay? Now, what I would like you to know is, so I spoke about an appraisal, a data collection, a gathering of facts, a compilation of work done, an estimation or an evaluation. All this is encompassed in the word assessment. Now, what is not an assessment, my friends? On connaît maintenant l'idée qui veut dire un assessment. Mais qui veut dire ne pas faire un assessment? Always when you have data, you have facts, or you have an evaluation in front of you, it is not a judgment or it is not a criticism. OK? On va pas commencer, on a des informations, on va pas commencer à dire ça c'est pas bon ou ça c'est bon, ça c'est pas bon. That is not an assessment. An assessment is just making use of what is already available or collecting the data to use it. Okay? It can also be an appraisal of what has worked, what is going on well, and what can be improved. This aspect of an assessment, you have the first aspect of the assessment, which means what is it exactly? I've defined it through different examples. Now, how do I go about an assessment? It is an appraisal of what work has been done already, what is going on well, and what can be improved. C'est assez simple à comprendre. Quand on dit, on peut assesser sa situation là, après on dit, ouais, écoute là, qui m'a peut faire là? Mon père qui écoute, qui travaille déroulé, qui travaille bien faire, et comment moi capable improve. Aussi simple que ça. Parce que, pourquoi je fais ça? Parce que j'ai des comptes à rendre. I have to justify my spending. I have to justify the time and resources that has went on in it. Okay? All of you have, I think, been through a performance appraisal at work, n'est-ce pas? Je vais prendre un exemple très, très simple. At the end of the year, your superiors call you and say, okay, let's assess a little bit what you've done during the year. Or it can happen on a 6-month basis. Alors, qu'est-ce que l'organisation fait avec vous là? The organization is just trying to see what you're doing well and where it can be improved. N'est-ce pas? Il va vous donner du temps à improve, ou bien, if you don't improve, there has to be other measures taken. Compris? Je vais vous donner tout ça, c'est dans les notes là. I will upload all this, but I'm just trying to explain what is in the notes first, because if you're going to start reading it, you won't understand. I have to explain it to you first. Right. What circumstances or what type of projects do we assess? We can basically assess anything. Okay? We can assess a company which is profit-making or which is loss-making. If it is profit-making, we need to know how to improve or how to adapt to new demands in the market. If it is a loss-making company, we need to know why we are losing money. And why have our investments gone wrong? If it is a service that we are assessing, why is the service being used? Ou bien why is the service not being used? Okay. You can also assess a product. Okay, si je décide de vendre ce stylo-là, pourquoi les gens achètent, pourquoi les gens n'achètent pas, j'ai besoin de savoir. And also you can assess a project. Most of you will be familiar with project assessment in your workplace because from where you work, there are a lot of projects being implemented. Whether I have met my initial targets, what do I do? What do I do when I start a project? OK, moi donne-moi 6 mois pour compléter ce projet-là. Moi, j'ai un target de ça et moi, j'ai ton budget. All of you are familiar with it. So we can start assessing at the end and say, okay, did I meet my target or did I not? That is also an assessment. Okay, all of you have been through in one of these examples at some point in your lives, right? Whether it's in your personal life or in your workplace. Now, there's a very important implication of assessment that you need to know. There are some aspects or some areas of work that you have to be very careful while assessing because they are covered by certain rights or certain legal obligations. For example, you have the medical field, okay? If you work for an NGO that is in the medical section, I think some of you have told me you work for Ministry of Health. There's data that you cannot give away easily because it's personal and it's personal to the incumbent, okay, personal to the person. You cannot just call in assessors to do an assessment of the situation when personal data about the medical condition needs to be shared. Ça, il faut avoir les permissions nécessaires. You have societal obligations at times. Okay, you have groups of people who form little pressure groups in society. Okay, tell you, no, you're not allowed to assess. For example, I'll tell you an example that many of you can be familiar with because it's often in the media. Take the example of the company called Air Mauritius. Okay, you have what the media tells us is it's a company that is making a loss and the prices are very high and they don't let competitors come in. Okay, very good. But what stops the government or anyone to go and assess that company? There are pressure groups like small shareholders within the company itself or the government itself that stop you from doing an assessment of the company. Alors, je ne veux pas les dire, OK, moi, un compétiteur, moi, viens implémente, moi, là, ben, moi, fais un assessment, ou bien, moi, viens acheter un Mauritius. Je suis une compagnie internationale. Si British Airways, on vient acheter un Mauritius. Ils ont fait un assessment de la compagnie avant, mais on empêche ça d'arriver à cause des petits pressure groups qui opèrent à l'intérieur. You have governmental restrictions, OK? Before you start assessing or before you start know what are the implications of the government in the project. Is it government provided funding? Okay. Is it government provided restrictions or the government said, pas nécessaire à ça, ça, là, implémente projet là après 5 ans de bouqueté. Ça aussi, il y a dans des pays. However, you get this for large fund donors like the European Union or the United Nations or the World Bank or the IMF, who are large fund donors. They donate to the country. For example, they tell you, okay, I'm giving you $10 million. You have to eradicate dengue fever in Mauritius. It is fairly easy because it's an island surrounded by sea. So, once the government receives that fund, what does it do? Il n'y a pas pour commencer à assess immédiatement. Il connaît un problème dans le pays là. So he'll give it to the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Health will have to implement it through its projects. And it is something that is not going to happen within 1 month or 2 months. So government will say, okay, we will make an action plan, and after 5 years we will assess. These are longer term assessments. Understood? Implications of an assessment, my friends? Why do we assess? Why do we have to make an assessment of any situation or any project? First, we need to have a knowledge and understanding. You need to have the knowledge to be able to know, where do I go from here? Je peux pas aller faire des assessments dans le vide. I have to know what I'm trying to tackle. Qu'est-ce que j'ai déjà en main pour travailler? À ce moment-là, je commence à faire un plan pour bouger plus devant, vers le progrès. Non? Do you operate like this, ou bien vous êtes une grande intiteuse? For example, you have a budget. Let's say, for example, a personal assessment. You want to buy a car. Let's take a very simple example. You have a budget for it. You have a certain particular make or model in mind, whether I buy a new one, an old one, a second-hand one, an electric car, petrol car. Tout ça, ce que vous êtes en train de faire là, c'est des assessments. Moi, j'ai tant casse. Moi, j'ai 1 million de roupies. Comment je peux investir ça dans le tout? C'est à moi de voir. Je suis capable de dépenser tout casse là, ou même je suis capable de dépenser un tiers. Qui a été le tout, pour acheter? Qui fait moi passer ça le tout là? Qui peut soutenir moi? Comment m'observer? What you're doing here internally in your head is an assessment of the situation. Okay? What protects people from assessments? Comme je vous ai dit, you have to make a link of protection and implication. Sorry, Lilette? Say again? Okay, sorry, I thought you were saying something. Okay. What protects people from assessment, my friends, is linked to implications of an assessment. Qui protège moi depuis un assessment? The legality, comme j'ai dit, depends on which domain you're working in. Data protection and confidentiality. Okay, this is something that was highly disregarded for many years in Mauritius, but now it is a law that is very much practiced. Okay, you have the press. Here you have a pretty much free press. The press is not controlled by any institution. So if I feel somebody is doing me wrong, I can easily go to the press and explain my situation. You have ethical laws. Okay. And you have, of course, watchdog organizations at times. What is a watchdog organization? Is a group of people or NGOs at times who just observe and they say, okay, this is going well and this is not going too well. They're not here to criticize or judge. They just observe and they give their opinion. Now, who are assessors? D'après vous, who can do an assessment in your organization? Those of you who work for Social Security, Cab Office, tout ça. Qui peut faire un assessment de vous?
our superiors, ma'am.
Your superiors do an assessment of your work, right?
Yes.
But what about
yes.
the work in itself? Le service que vous donnez, tout, ou l'organisation. Pardon?
The public or the clients that come in
Yes,
for the
the
service.
public is a very, you're right, the public is a very good, assessors because you work there for them, right? If they are not there, you don't have any reason to exist. Your service doesn't have any reason to exist. What I would like you to think is, what I would like you to encourage you to think is, assessors are always independent. They're not always the receivers. They're good assessors, yes, but they don't do the assessment in a structured way. Carving donne 5 bons services à une personne, mais si 6e là, on manque là-dedans, il faut concentrer le 6e là même. It is not a right way to assess. Oubliez ça 5 bons services qui vous donnent de nous. So that's what the end users tend to think. If I have to come and assess tomorrow the Ministry of Social Security, for example, I have to be an independent person. I cannot be a person working in the organization or knowing the service and assessing. I will be biased in my views. You have a lot of people employ consultancy firms to do that. Les auditeurs, comme on dit. Vous êtes une bizarre sûrement connaître les auditeurs venir une certaine période de l'année. Vous avez nous dit nous ban compte, nous ban process, nous ban livre. Mais qui se peut faire ça man du monde là? The independent workers who are coming to see in your organization whether the processes are working and whether you are not making any wastage and whether the service given, provided, is being used by the people. Okay? I have given a general explanation of assessments because this first lecture for me is about understanding what is an assessment and why do we assess. Okay? After that, I'll come to interventions. And then I'll explain how it's relevant to groups. Do you have any questions so far? Some of you might know that, or some of you might have come across that assessment also means monitoring. It's another word that we use for monitoring. Nous pouvons monitorer ces affaires-là, ce projet-là, ce service-là, et après nous guetter combien il est populaire ou bien si nous besoin continuer ou bien arrêter. Monitoring can mean quality assurance. Okay? We are not here just to do the job and then go. We have to know whether the people are okay with it or whether we need to improve. Constant throughout our lives and our work, we do constant monitoring. We always try to improve in what we do. Nobody likes to be told, no, when go zéro, pas qu'on fait le travail, pas besoin na ou ici. Nobody likes to be told that. Everybody likes to say, yes, I did a good job, now I want to improve. So that's why we have to do a constant monitoring. Although perfection doesn't exist, yes, but we have to still try to improve. If a service is working well already, how are we going to adapt to new demands? If a service is not working, where we need to improve. Okay? Now, monitoring also involves a lot of statistical tools. These help in determining some errors and to draw conclusions. C'est-à-dire, not all, this is what I mean when I say there is a lot of data collection involved in assessments. I have to know if I have a service, if I have a shop, for example, in la boutique, dans Pelari, moi, besoin connaître combien de monde vient acheter que moi, je viens acheter à longueur de journée, qui clientèle moyenne, qui va produit je peux acheter plus souvent, ou bien qui va faire je peux acheter du tout. What am I doing here? Dans la journée, moi, c'est moi qui OK, combien de monde man jeunesse, combien de monde man petits enfants, combien de monde qui travaille. Je viens pendant la semaine, ou bien je viens pendant le week-end, ou bien je viens après 5 heures, ou bien je viens tôt le matin, ou bien je viens à longueur de journée. What am I doing here? I am collecting the data so that I know what I should sell and how my business will sustain in the long run. No? So professionally, I'm doing it in a very amateur way here because the shop is mine. I'm accountable to myself. I have to know where to invest my money. This is one. Now, professionally, you have a lot of statistical tools that are used. For example, if I have to assess the whole of cab office functioning, okay? For those of you who work in cab office, moi besoin connaître combien de monde qui vient pour faire complainte, combien de monde qui vient pour prendre renseignement, combien de monde qui vient pour connaître qui cab office capable de nous en plus de ça qui est non. 3 different aspects of assessing my service. So once I have this, if I monitor this over a month, I say, okay, 50 moun vini pour A, 50 moun vini pour B, 10 moun vini pour C. I have to present this professionally through data, through a means, proxy means. You have standard deviation, you have how much the sameness of the data or the, comment dire, the irregularities in the data. What I'm trying to tell you here is an assessment tools are used in data collection at a more professional level. This is something that you will use when you're doing your dissertations, okay? If some of you have not written it already, you will know that you have to collect the data, present it in a statistical way. It is easiest for everybody to understand, like this. Okay? We don't speak in vague terms. So it gives your assessment more meaning. Okay, my friends? Compris? Un petit peu? Pas trop? Donnez-moi une réponse, s'il vous plaît.
On a compris, madame.
Everybody, are you still here? Où est-ce que tu veux sauver?
Yes,
La
madame.
même.
La même, madame.
Yes.
Allez, bien. Bon. Vous n'avez pas mes autres vidéos là, alors vous ne connaissez pas cette langue, vous n'êtes pas là. Okay. I have spoken at length about assessment. Now, let me explain a little bit what I mean by intervention. Okay? Because this course is all about assessment and intervention. Nous tous nous connaissons que ça veut dire une intervention. Vaguement. Dans la tête, nous connaissons. But let us put it in a social work context. Because all of us are students of social work here. What is an intervention? It is meaning taking the necessary actions, whether it is corrective, remedial, or punitive, to bring about changes. Qui fait nous faire une intervention pour changer. Again, here, this will depend on what type of assessment you're doing. Okay? What do I mean by what type of assessment? Are you doing assessment for a project? Are you doing it for a specific service? Are you doing it for a product? Okay? If I have to sell this pen here, which is a product, I have placed it on the market, but nobody is buying it. Okay, my assessment at the end of the year is this pen doesn't sell. So what do I intervene? I have to change the product itself. Maybe the appearance, maybe the ink, I don't know, something or the other. It's like that for all products. For a service, how do I intervene? If I give the cab office service, or I go to Social Security, or any other service, or ANFEN, for example, okay, they give a service. If I find my number of students decreasing over the years, or number of users decreasing over the years, pourquoi ça? We have to go and find out why. But during the assessment, I will find out, and I have to know how to intervene. Maybe now people don't need cab office or SSO office. They do applications online. Il y a beaucoup de choses qui sont en ligne avec portable maintenant. C'est plus facile. People don't want to go and talk to somebody. They prefer to do it on their phone or on their computers. That could be one way I should modify my service or gear my service towards that. No need to have big offices with people sitting in it and waiting long hours in line for an officer to receive me. Okay? Right. In both assessment and intervention, There's some basic fundamentals to consider, like I said, implications of an assessment and what protects the people. It applies for interventions as well. Okay? If I have to go and do an assessment of the medical service offered by hospitals in Mauritius, let's say the cardiac unit, of all the cardiac units in Mauritius, si moi n'a pas fait un assessment là, et moi n'a beaucoup de choses pour me dire pour to improve, how to improve the service or how to leave the service as it is. Mais mon petit était qui ça fait qui peut protéger bandiboun? It is a necessary service for the population, yes. Can I write everything? Or I should say non, service ça peut marche parfaitement bien. Très bien. Mais si service ça peut marche du tout, est-ce qu'il est capable de dire tout? Comment pour improve? Change the system altogether. I have to know first what protects the people from debarment of the service before I know what I'm writing. Compris? Same thing applies for children. Okay, if I say the education system, for those of you who work in primary schools, their education system in primary schools need to be modified. Bien bon. Moi, j'ai trouvé ça dans mon assessment. Pourquoi? Parce que les élèves pas comprennent formal education. We need to find alternative methods of education so that they understand. Can I change the system in all the schools? There's ethical consideration. There is government laws. There are a lot of implications in it. I have to know how do I carry out the intervention so that I do at least part of the improvement, if not everything. Okay? In an organization or anywhere, it is the same level of intervention required. The first one we think about financial. Yo, combien casse ça pour coûte moi? Personnellement, si, quand on a un projet pour le faire, première affaire, nous pensons, combien casse ça pour coûter là? OK? Quand on a envie d'organiser une grande fête, un grand anniversaire, un grand mariage, bien bon, nous besoin faire li, nous envie faire li. That is the first thing you think about. How much money will it cost me? It's like that for same organizations. It's like that for governmental organizations as well, because every year they work on a budget. They have to go and justify the budget. Deuxièmement, qui m'ont pour penser? Qui pense que qui m'a impliqué là-dedans? Combien ça coûte moi? Qui pense que m'a impliqué? Combien les temps les comprend moi? Financial implication, workforce implication, and time constraints. There's also, okay, now I have to design the policy. Si j'ai besoin de changer, qui ça fait ça pour moi? J'ai besoin de prendre un dimanche en dehors, bien nous faire nous-mêmes. What is the infrastructure I need? What are the outside stakeholders' collaboration I will need for that? Okay? These are all the implications that come with an intervention. Financial constraints, time constraints, workforce constraints, infrastructural constraints, outside collaborators and stakeholders constraints, okay? Especially in social work, where we need collaboration of everybody to be able to bring forward an idea. I have experienced it personally in my work. I can say, yes, I give a lot of services to people, but why do they still remain poor? Well, because there are other problems that I cannot see, which NGOs see on the field, or other people, or social workers see, or teachers, okay? Or the inhabitants themselves see, which I don't see, because I don't live there. I don't live in that, in those circumstances. But I need all these people so that I know how I'm going to improve my services. Compris? Why do we have to intervene? I think the answer is pretty much simple and rhetorical. To improve our system, to assess, to implement what an assessment has given us, to correct, okay, improve or correct. And of course, if you want to take over a company or take over a business or something like that, the first thing you do is go and do an assessment. On va pas acheter, nous ne va pas acheter un business comme ça même, ou bien acheter un service comme ça même. Tu vas le guetter avant qu'il me paye un retour pour me casse. There is an extra reading that I will give you on comprehensive family assessment guidelines for child welfare. Okay? It's very interesting because I find it comme le mot dit, c'est comprehensive, c'est-à-dire il y a beaucoup de choses là-dedans que vous pouvez avoir concernant assessment and intervention, definition and how to do it. Use it as an example to understand what assessment and intervention is all about. Okay? Any questions before I carry on? Pour le moment?
Non, c'est bon. C'est bon.
Okay. Anybody else? Are you grasping a little bit the definitions and the implications of assessment and intervention? Okay. Let me carry on about interventions. Like I said, assessment is monitoring of projects, of services, of circumstances, of work processes, of people's work, okay? Intervention is also called an evaluation. Another word for it can be an evaluation. Excuse me. Evaluation of what? Evaluation of activities, processes, goals, results, anything that an assessment has shown you. You have, why do we intervene and evaluate? We have decision making to do. We have an expert judgment. This applies mostly for those international fund donors, okay, like those large banks and large organizations who provide us funding on a larger scale. They will tell you, okay, now that you have eradicated malaria in Mauritius, it was eradicated long back, funding was provided. Now we will give you funds to eradicate this problem, okay? Like, for example, Mauritius in the 1970s, there was large funding to do family planning, one, and secondly, to have a set of vaccinations for all children. All babies, infants need to be vaccinated. Remember, Mauritius gained independence in 1968. Alors, on venait d'être indépendant, il n'y avait aucune notion de family planning dans les familles, et puis il fallait faire vacciner les enfants. So it was compulsory for every newborn child to be vaccinated against some diseases or some disability afterwards. So after a while, là veut dire peut-être après 15 à 20 ans, when the assessment was being done, it was monitored. When the intervention report came, the local UNDP, I remember, the UNDP office closed down. They said, we don't need to provide funding for small babies and infants anymore because the system is there already. It's working. You see, it has taken its time, but you can see after 10 years, the child is healthy and normal. Every human being who's a Mauritian is healthy and normal. They don't suffer from diseases because they have not been vaccinated. Okay? Factors that help in intervention. C'est-à-dire, why do we evaluate? What do we evaluate? When we intervene, okay, I have explained to you why we intervene. Okay, to correct, to improve, to modify, to do everything that we need to do. Now, where do we start applying it? What are the factors that go inside it, that are associated with it? You have gender and age profiling. Okay? If I'm working with children, it's not going to be the same as adolescents or adults or old people. You have the economic profile. Excuse me. Am I working with the vulnerable population? Am I working with the working class? Or am I working with the very rich? Sometimes the religious profiles. If you go to other countries, there are a lot of restrictions imposed because of religion. So you have to always keep that in mind. People will tell you, yeah, you cannot do that because the religious beliefs of the people don't allow that. Okay? Changes in policy. What do I need to change in my way of working so that it suits my target population better, whether it's as per gender, age, religion, or activity, or composition of the workforce or whatever. Okay? If my workforce is comprised of mostly 40 plus people, when I do an assessment, when I have to intervene, now these people have got more than 20 years of service behind them. How do I tackle them? Whereas if my workforce is composed of people from the YEP program, Youth Employment Program, just fresh out of school or university, when I have to intervene, how do I make them understand that we need to change our policies, we need to operate differently? You understand? What are the implications and how we evaluate? Interventions can be the outcome of the goals. Okay? What do I mean by that? During an assessment, I have my inputs, whatever I have to put, and I have my output. I will put in so much amount of money and I will get this in return. This service, this product, or this whatever. This process should be successful. During an intervention now, what does it show me? It shows me the outcome, and it also shows me whether my goals have been achieved. Ça qui m'a décidé dans assessment là, est-ce qu'il m'a réussi faire ou bien non, m'a besoin improve. Ou bien non, bien bon là, m'a réussi faire tout mon target, m'a capable de faire projet là pareillement. Okay? In a very simplistic term, you can say assessment can be the input and the output, whereas intervention can be the outcome and the results. And of course, after this assessment and intervention, we have the impact of whatever has been done. That is at a third stage. Comprenez? Souvent, nous donne ce mot-là. Quel a été l'impact du projet? On va lier ça. OK, on fait ce projet-là, mais qui l'impact ça a gagné? Qui nous peut dire là quand on appelle un impact? Qui nous besoin en ça? Quand il dit qui impact ça a dans ça? Ou travaille dans SSO, ou travaille dans Cab Office, ou travaille dans l'école, ou peut montrer ça aux enfants-là. Dans l'école, par exemple, montrer aux enfants-là alternative methods of learning, very good, or fortified learning, very good. Et qui l'impact ça a gagné? Que les enfants y passent? Est-ce qu'ils enfants comprennent plus bien? Est-ce qu'ils enfants vivent dans l'école à cette? You have to be able to monitor all this so that you have the answers to all this. Okay? Any questions? Let me talk a little bit more about impact evaluation, and then you can ask me questions if you want. Now that I have spoken at length, what is assessment, monitoring, or intervention evaluation? Bien bon, je finis faire mon activité là. Now I need to know what is the impact of it, of an assessment and intervention. What will an impact evaluation help me do? Comme on finit ça, tout ça va me donner là, mon analyser, mon trouver, bien bon. Tout ça, c'est très joli sur papier. Mais maintenant, on met en pratique. C'est justement pour connaître si ça qui m'a fait un impact, que tu m'as besoin de changer, que tu m'as pas besoin de changer. C'est-à-dire, An impact evaluation, what will it help me do? It will help me redetermine my actions and objectives, my initial objectives. It will place indicators for actions, c'est-à-dire, je vais connaître côte, moi pour mettre, côte, moi pour suivre, plus près ou bien de loin. Ou bien vous allez faire un projet là en entier. It will help me use my time more effectively. Moi pas pour faire un projet dans le vide, ni moi pour faire un projet qui m'a pensé dit mon bizarre, moi pour faire un projet qui dit mon là vraiment bizarre. And the conclusions of an impact will help me either progress or remain stagnant. If I have to do an assessment of all the SSOs in Mauritius, social security officers all around Mauritius, c'est un gros travail. Qui s'en a fait cet assessment-là, par exemple? The best would be for some outside party or consultant to come and assess what services we're offering, how often people use it, what are the problems they encounter, or what are the things they're satisfied with. At the end of the day, I need to go and ask the users, et quel impact ça a dans la vie? Si moi ouvert un SSO là, est-ce qu'il est servi ou vraiment? Ou bien ou là, ou servi une fois et puis c'est tout. Merci beaucoup, je n'ai pas besoin. This will help me know whether the SSOs around should still be functional or they should change their course of action. Or maybe in an extreme case, they should all close down because people don't use them anymore. Vous avez compris? This first lecture has been about a lot of explanations and a basic understanding of what assessment and intervention is about. Now, when you're going to read your manual, okay, they will start by giving you a lot of definition of groups. It is a fairly, vague, pas vague, a fairly general approach. They define what are formal groups, what are informal groups, informative groups, discussive groups. All that is good as knowledge. A group can be anything, anybody. We here, we are a group of people, okay? We're a group of students and lecturers. So groups normally, that's why I like to do the first lecture by explaining what is assessment intervention, and more so, I don't concentrate too much on groups. That you can read in your manual and have an idea of what a group is all about. When we're going to do other lectures, we will go to more specific groups. C'est-à-dire, when I do assessment and intervention in an organization, I will talk only about organization. That is a specific group of people. Same goes for institutions and communities. Okay? What defines a group is its goal. Desired outcome. We here, what is our desired outcome here? I want to give you the knowledge to pass the subject, and you as students want to study it and pass. Point final, ça s'arrête à là. Bon, pas pour retrouver ton cours, peut-être pas pour retrouver mon cours. A group, each specific group formed has got a defined objective, a defined goal, a defined path to follow. Alors, c'est pourquoi je ne me pas trop concentrer, je ne pas trop pédir les temps dans une définition de groupe. Ce n'est pas important. Vous pouvez lire dans votre manuel, vous allez savoir. Okay? Like I say, there's an extra reading that I will give you called Comprehensive Family Assessment Guidelines. Read it. Personally, I find it very interesting. That's why I'm sharing it with you. You will have a concrete idea of how an assessment is done for a specific project. When you have an example like this, what you can do is you can adapt it to any sort of assessment you have to do. OK? Quand je dis adapt, quand je dis adopter, ça ne veut pas dire répliquer exactement pareil, mais modifier, extract what is important for you and use it as an assessment. for your own project, product, or service you're giving. What you could do is look for 2 case studies on 2 different assessments. Okay, you will find lots of information. I know many of you from experience, students like to go on the internet and do a lot of research. Look for 2 different types of case studies and look at how the assessment has been done. And you can also add into your notes. Another question I would like you to answer for next time, just think about it after you do your readings. Should interventions necessarily happen only after assessments? I repeat the question, listen to it very carefully, please. Should interventions happen necessarily after assessments? I have explained to you assessments and then intervention. Now, I ask you a question from your experience, from your work experience, and from everything you will read. Should I necessarily intervene after an assessment? Yes, no, maybe, up to you to tell me. I want you to reflect on it. You will not have the answer right now. But when you take an example or when you read about a case study, you will definitely have an idea of what to answer. And please, what I encourage in my class is divergent thinking. Okay, I don't expect everybody to give me the same answer. All of you have worked in different circumstances, in different organizations. All of you are different here. And all of you do a different job. So when you answer a question, the more divergent views I get, the better it is. And please don't tell me you will copy on your friend or you will ask your friend to do the work for you or your fellow classmates. It's not going to work because the classmate will think about what they knew from their own work experience and their own different experiences in life on assessments. Another question that is important to reflect on after you do your readings is, can assessment and interventions be independent of each other? Should they go together or should they operate independently? Just remember, there is no right or wrong answer. There are just different points of view, okay? I repeat, all of you have got a different work experience. So everybody will answer these 2 questions their own way. I will ask you again when I meet you the next time, okay? And I can pick anybody to ask here. And if you don't,
Madam, can you repeat? Madam, sorry, can you repeat the second question, please? Can assessment and intervention
be independent of each other? Okay. I have given you 2 open-ended questions so that you can reflect on it and you can write. You don't have to write big essays, okay? You just have to write out 4 or 5 points, note form, okay? And this is what is going to help you understand questions on this topic and answer them. Are you okay with the 2 questions? For the time being, you should be, because you have to go and read more in depth about the topic before answering them. And please, I don't need long drawn out essays on this, okay? All of you will come with 4 or 5 points and I will decide how we'll ask the questions. And please, if you don't do the work, I will have to ask you to give me give it to me in writing. Give me all your work in writing and post it on Blackboard, which I don't like to do because I know you're all working people. You have several commitments with the family and the work. I am just trying to guide you on how to think on a question and how you're going to find it easy for you to answer, okay? So if you don't do it, I will have to tell you, I'll give it to you in writing then. All of you will have to post your notes on Blackboard. So the next lecture will be about revising what we've done today, discussing what you have done in your extra readings, extra notes, and trying to answer these 2 questions. C'est bon? Any questions so far? Are you writing down everything I'm saying, ou bien vous attendez que je mette les notes? Ou bien vous écoutez seulement? Comment vous faites dans les lectures? Dites-moi un coup. Comme ça, je vais savoir quand mettre les notes. Soit moi de nous avant, soit moi de nous après.
Madame, pour moi, personnellement, écrire ce qui m'a capable. Après, là, quand on peut mettre ça le blackboard, là, ce qui m'a raté, me reprendre là.
D'accord.
Je pense que la plupart de mes camarades aussi font pareil.
Okay. Does anybody do it?
I take notes while you are talking.
Okay. What about the rest? Who doesn't take notes? Or do all of you do? Il y a beaucoup de gens qui préfèrent écouter avant. OK? Il y a différents qui vont se capter différemment. Il y a qui vont se capter en écrivant, il y a qui vont en regardant, il y a qui vont en écoutant. OK? So, c'est pas un problème de ne pas écrire une note là. Il y a beaucoup qui vont se capter beaucoup plus en écoutant. Alors, ça même, on peut dire ça. Ça même, on peut demander ça. Right. Just one little thing before I wrap up this session here. You can read about the definition and the different types of groups that exist. You have, like I say, formal groups, informal groups, working groups, thinking groups, religious groups, purpose groups, anything can be, study groups, okay, anything can be a group. Different type of, for example, in Mauritius, you have social groups also, okay, we are studying social studies, so let's talk about social groups. You have socio-cultural groups, okay, you have religious groups. If you belong to a certain religious organization, that is also a group of people congregating for a specific purpose. You have volunteers, medical volunteers, and like we say, post-cyclone volunteers, that when we see informal groups forming everywhere in our community. You have professional groups, okay, doctors, engineers, in our case, social work, teachers. What you can think about or what you can reflect on is our assessments of all workings in all groups important. C'est-à-dire, what I'm trying to ask you here is, do we need to always assess everything in a group? Who can try to answer this question now from what I have explained? If yes, why? If no, why? I repeat the question. Do we always need to assess all aspects of functioning in a group? Et je dis bien all aspects of functioning. Take a couple of minutes and try to answer this, please. So tell me, my friends, my question was, do we need to always assess all aspects of functioning in a group? You can take a chance at answering. Please, anybody can. C'est pas difficile.
Je vais essayer.
Bien sûr.
Probably yes. If we miss one point, the result might be biased during the
Yes,
assessment.
that is a valid. If you miss one aspect, the results can be biased. Très bien. That is a very good answer. For Divina, it is yes. What about the rest? Does anybody not agree with this? If it is no, why do you say no?
Can I try? I would say yes, because assessment will help the group to know whether the objectives of the group is being met, and will also help them to reevaluate what has been done or what should be done.
Sorry, Dylan, I missed the first part because something went wrong with my... just repeat what you've said, please.
I said I would say yes, because assessment will help the group to know whether the objectives of the group is being met, and whether there should be reevaluation of what has been done, or can also help to guide intervention of what should be done.
Très bien. Good. I think I have got two answers about yes. And both of answers have got one thing in common, is that you're taking it from the level of input. What am I putting into the assessment? So if I input financial, workforce, resources, funding, collaboration with stakeholders, and everything that goes into it, then yes, I should be able to assess. Otherwise, one, to know where to correct, and secondly, the results at the end, c'est-à-dire the output, may be biased if I don't assess everything. Very good. Good answers. Does anybody not agree with this? Does anybody has to say no, and why?
Ma'am?
Or but anybody can say no and why? Yes, tell me, Devina.
On the opposite side, I think during the group intervention, there might be conflict in the group itself during the assessment.
Why do you think there would be conflict in the group being assessed or whatever, or the people using the services or whatever? Why do you think there would be conflict?
There might be different ways of thinking by the thought itself in the group.
Yes, but it will depend on, in a group, there's always different ways of thinking, okay? No two individuals think the same, but it depends on who is doing the assessment. If it is an outside party, you can't go and argue with the outside party. They are there, an outside consultant or a firm or une boîte de consultants qui vient dire, OK, nous pouvons faire assessment ou ban service. Bien bon. You can't go and argue with the person. You can't show your conflictual views to the person. They are there just to do their jobs, whether your office is functioning properly or not. So I don't understand, why do you say conflicts within groups? How is it relevant to assessment and intervention? That could be a result of an assessment. Maybe the services are not functioning because there are conflicting groups within an organization. That's how I see it. If you can explain to me a little bit further, then I can understand.
Madam? Madam?
Yes. Yes, Lily.
If I say yes, I'm trying. If I say yes, to have or to follow all the aspect for functioning in a group, it should be like it is a guideline. Just nobody will go outside it. A guideline is better. Just everyone is focused on what to do, how to go ahead.
Très bien. I think that summarizes it, so to speak. Yes, it is important to assess all functions or structures in an organization. It can provide, as a desired result, it can provide a proper guideline on the way forward. Très bien. Very good. I have got so far 3 answers about why it should be yes. Now take 2 minutes and think about why it should be no. Let us look at both sides of the coin. Think about it and tell me. I've already given you most of the answer. You can look at the notes and you will think about it and tell me, no, I should not assess all aspects. Pourquoi non?
Madam, if we say we are taking an outsider to do the assessment,
oui.
Will the outsider be familiar to the rules and regulations to be able to do the assessment about all the functioning?
That is the basics of their work. They have to start by familiarizing themselves with the organization. That is their rule.
Yes.
Ou pas capable de dire, oui, moi, un assesseur, mon père assesse quoi? Mon père assesse un supermarché Winners. Comme on pas connaît qui Winners fait. Qui structure l'été, qui situé, qui fait l'île de sa service là, et comment casse les servi, comment workforce les servi.
Let's say for an association, NGOs association working for children, anything like that.
Okay.
Yes. And then if the assessor will say that this doesn't go with his perception, can it be?
The assessor needs to explain his views and his results.
Yes.
An assessor cannot be prescriptive about their views, okay? Let's say the assessor is coming to assess the NGO, bien bon? And then they say, okay, as per the circumstances, the social, cultural, religious, and all the circumstances of the NGO operating right now in Mauritius,
yes,
this is my assessment of it.
Okay. Okay.
Nous pas besoin d'imoun, des vidéos qui viennent dire nous, vous connaissez, dans l'Angleterre, nous travaillons comme ça, dans l'Australie, dans la France, dans la Chine, dans l'Inde. Oui, but their circumstances are different. Their fundings are different. Their methods of operation is different. Okay, so that's the first thing the assessor should do. Understand in what context we're operating. And then they can do the assessment.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Roshan, you wanted to ask a question? Rohan, sorry.
Yes, madam. Madam, in my view, it is not necessary to assess all the aspects within a group. For example, ma'am, a simple example, if we have a group, for example, a group of a company, for example, Galaxy or Coach, those persons who are in charge for the sales of their products, if they do not supply those who are in charge of delivery with the proper information about the product that needs to be delivered and the correct address or time to be delivered, those who are doing the delivery, they will not be able to do their job properly. So if the assessor finds that the issue is within those who are in charge of the sales, then if we try to resolve the problem there, then automatically the problem within those who are in charge for delivery will be resolved. An example
Okay.
on myself.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying is maybe, so to sum up what your point of view is, if I am assessing very large, maybe multinational organizations, okay, like Amazon.com, for example, okay, it is a huge organization. It has got many, many different aspects of functioning. From the sourcing to the delivery, it has got a huge functioning, right? Bien bon. The assessor has decided to, has found out that there's a problem with only one department, then yes. But he needs to understand everything from beginning to end to know where the problem is. Vous me comprenez là, Rohan?
Yes,
Ma
ma'am.
question, you can, maybe it is important for organizations where there is an interconnectivity of activities. Then yes, it is important to assess. For example, I'm going to assess a factory making clothing. Okay? Tout ban département là-dedans est interlié. Commencer avec sourcing, avec production, avec sales, avec vendre, avec packing, delivering. Everything is interconnected there. Right? Whereas I am assessing a multinational organization like Nestle, or locally we have IBL, okay? Ou bien Fail Group. It is a big group, but its activities are not interconnected. Il y a différentes branches d'organisation, de production, de services. Il n'est pas nécessairement l'accès tout ça là. Peut-être une partie de l'organisation là qui ne va pas marcher. À ce moment-là, je peux dire que non, ce n'est pas nécessaire. Compris? Ça, c'est mon point de vue. OK?
Yes, madam.
So, I would say assessment is not important for many multinationals at times because not all their services need assessment. Let's take Facebook company, for example. All of you know of it. Il y a différentes compagnies. Il y a Twitter, il y a Instagram, il y en a plusieurs. Mais peut-être 10 Facebook, pas paiement. C'est alors moi, l'assess ça service là même pour aider comment on peut improve. Whereas Twitter and Instagram, which have gained popularity over the years, ça peut montrer bien, mais pas nécessairement faire un assessment là-bas. Moi, intervention, bizarre au Facebook qui fait du monde pas servir. Compris? That's when I say, when the processes or when the organization has got several departments or products and services which are not interrelated. That's when assessment is not important. Yes, Devika, you wanted to ask a question?
Madam, no, if I say no, because we cannot go through the guideline, because it is case to case at times, parce que des fois, nous prenons à Maurice même, vu que mon travail, sécurité sociale, des fois, nous sommes capables de dire, si nous parlons de guideline, ben non, the person is not qualified. Mais the person may be vraiment in need. So, nous pas capables aller sa assessment là as such, nous besoin go beyond pour help that person. So, I think des fois, assessing through a proper guideline n'est pas marché. Des fois, nous besoin aller beyond it for a good continuity, comme si dirait.
That is a very valid point that you have raised, especially in social work. Okay? Social work doesn't always run by rules and regulations. I can have a guide, but half of my work is guidance, half of it is my own assessment of the situation. Especially in social work, my friends. Je ne parle pas des autres trucs là, hein? Because I work with different people with different types of problems. So the same guideline will not apply to everybody because each case is different. Very valid point that you have raised, yes. because I work in the social field, so I think only from a social point of view. And what makes my work interesting is every case, every situation is different. I don't do the same job every time all the year, throughout the year. Otherwise, it is a repetitive. It is not an accounting job, okay? There's only one thing to do. Or it is mathematics. There's only one answer to each question. So yes, like you say, in social work, a standardized form of assessment doesn't always work because it is a case-to-case basis. Whereas in other functions, maybe a standardized way of proceeding is necessary so that the procedures are uniformized. Anybody has got anything else to say on the no aspect? Rien? I think your head has been crammed up with a lot of information now. You need time to think on all this. Okay, so my friends, I think I will end the session for today right now at this point, because I've already explained everything that you need to know on assessment, monitoring, and evaluation, intervention. I'm going to post the notes and the extra readings, and I will encourage each one of you, please don't wait till the last minute to start reading or something. Do a little bit every week. It will help you go through. You will not have many things to read all the time. We are meeting next on 16th of March, n'est-ce pas?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's 16th of March. So you have enough time to do a little bit of reading every week, okay? And I encourage all of you as researchers and students of social work, extract whatever you can from the readings and just jot it down. It doesn't have to be a lot. Pour les examens, vous n'aurez pas le temps d'aller écrire des pages et des pages et des pages. Vous avez seulement une demi-heure pour répondre à une question. What you're doing right now at the beginning of the session is reading, extracting notes, and keeping for your own reference so that you can use in your either assignment, dissertation, examen, or for your own thinking. Ou bien rajouter aux notes ce que je vais donner. Okay, these notes that I'm going to give you are a guide to you, how you should think about the subject. Extra notes you will give me, you will read, and you will tell me as per your own work experience. Compris? C'est bon?
Oui, madame.
Très bien. Merci, madame. Next time, I expect a little bit more participation from everybody, okay? Ce n'est pas les mêmes personnes qui vont répondre à chaque fois, s'il vous plaît. Is it okay? Can I leave? Can I stop recording the session? Right. If any of you have got questions or queries or anything, please feel free to send me an email. I will leave my email address on Blackboard, and I prefer to have any questions or anything in writing so that I can give you in writing. Sometimes when we talk, we tend to forget what we have said or it gets lost. So please send me a mail. I will leave my email address on Blackboard and I will answer almost immediately. Mails, I normally answer more quickly than WhatsApp messages. The representative class rep for this time is Divina. Divina ou Devika? Divina. If there's any important message to pass on, I will tell Devina and she will communicate to all of you. If there is anything important to know for all of you to do, okay?
Okay, madam.
Okay, thank you very much.
Merci, madame.
Bye-bye and
Merci,
see you
madame.
next time.
Merci, madame. Bon week-end.
Allez, quand on dit bye-bye, merci, là, tout le monde répond. On pose question, personne ne va répondre. Bon, allez. Bon courage et à la prochaine, les amis. Bye-bye.
Bye, au revoir.
Bye-bye, c'est tout répondre.